What's up, CHFFL, and welcome to week 12 of the 2023 season. We are titling this week Max's Last Stand because Max really needs to win out from here this week in particular. If he were to lose, probably going to have to suck it up and start selling, but if he wins, he's going to stay right in it down to the wire. We did have a trade this week. Mark traded for Cleveland's defense, sending a conditional fifth. He owns two right now, so whichever one is higher, and he gets back a seventh, hoping to get an advantage at any position that he can, and Cleveland's defense has obviously been very good this year. Waiver report for week 11, the big one was Isaiah Likely. Parker spent $26. Other bids coming in at 9 and 8 as people try to find tight ends that work for them. Mark Andrews out for the rest of the year. And Jordan Love went to Swan for $3. And I think this is interesting because if you go back and look at Jordan Love's history throughout the year, he's gotten over $50 total spent on him. People pick him up for a week, drop him, and then he must be the best guy to stream. He's this year's Daniel Jones, basically. Predictions. Last week I went 6-0, and as we get closer to the end of the year, teams trade, sell, or buy, and there's more disparity. It becomes a little easier to make predictions. It takes me to 39-21 in the season. We did still have a couple close games, though. Stan was our team of the week. That's 2 of the last 3 weeks that Stan has been team of the week. And Marty beat Swan in the game of the week to take that head-to-head matchup will be very important for playoff purposes. Switching over to our browser view, do this week's predictions. We're going to start with my Busan paper ballots versus Bill's Kimchiago Bears. Both conferences now have two sold off teams that are down at the bottom of the rankings, and this would be our fantasy heart and soul matchup of the two losers. Obviously, we had Thanksgiving this week, so a lot of games have already happened. Predictions are probably going to be a little quicker and a little easier to make this week. Only 3 points from Geno Smith. I miss Josh Allen already. It hurts my heart to not have him. 3.3 from Geno. David Montgomery, though, 17, that was really nice. And Laporta as well, 17.7. I feel good about that. Laporta had a couple of just okay weeks in a row, so it's good to see him get back on track. And Monty continues to be around the top 15 back category. One of the only good running backs available for sale right now, unless Max were to lose and start selling off. So I'm hoping to still get something decent for Monty. Over on Bill's side, you got 10 points from Brian Robinson. Oh, that's another thing. 0 points from my kicker. Kickers have just been killing me this year. Bill, 10 points from Brian Robinson, 9 from Scary Terry, and 10 points from his kicker puts him at a projected win right now. ESPN has him at 110 and me at 101. I'm still rolling with the Nico Collins Tank Dell combination. I left 20.4 for Christian Watson on the bench here. Would have been nice to have that in. He's just been so inconsistent. So we'll see how Houston can do against Jacksonville if CJ Stroud can continue to support both of those guys. Bill over here trying to guess right with quarterbacks has Fields in again this week. Not much to say on either of our sides. Fantasy Pros has me at a 73, Bill right up at a 75. Yeah, I just don't have the upside to make up the difference for this quarterback and kicker score. It's just too bad. I'll take Bill here. Let's look at Banis's D-Generation Eckler versus Mark's Can You Dig It? Digs It Sucka. After the Thanksgiving games, Banis comes in with 40 points from his defense, and oh man, started the flex player in the early games. It's no bueno, but still very happy with that score. 17.2 from Cooks. Actually puts Mark on upset watch here. Browns defense he just traded for. I wanted to look at what is Cleveland's schedule coming up that it was worth trading for this defense. Denver, Rams, Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville's not a great matchup. Chicago really is the first week of the playoffs. Don't really like Houston in the semifinals week, but if Mark could make the championship, Cleveland against the Jets could be a game winner. So I understand that move entirely. Only 4.5 from Jake Ferguson. Everybody having a hard time hitting on tight ends. Banis has Taysom Hill swinging for the fences there. Hill hasn't really had one of his. No, he has. He has 22 points in both week 8 and 9. That's what Hill always gives you. He'll either disappear or have one of his big games where he's used as the gadget player and just puts up a lot of points. Otherwise, Mark hasn't had a Diggs or Chase. We're going to see Chase without Burrow now. How big of a hit that is for Mark. It's really tough. Really tough. Mark still has a stronger team, though. Obviously, Fantasy Pros liked him a lot better before the game started at 85 versus Banis at 66. But I don't know. The Thursday game makes this really tough. I'm going to stick with Mark because I think, you got Diggs, Devonta Smith. I think Jamar Chase still can do pretty well, even with the backup quarterback. Kyron Williams back in the lineup is nice. Mark should have two reasonably good running backs now. Although we'll see after being injured if Kyron goes right back to being kind of the bell cow. I still take Mark here. Now over what could be another trap game, Swan and the new Walker Order versus Minnie's 2 sacks and a Ric Flair. Swan really cannot afford to drop any games now that Marty has the head-to-head tiebreaker, so he needs to win more games than Marty does in these final 3 weeks. And really, at the beginning of this game, it was looking closer. Now, Minnie projected on ESPN 10 points below Swan. Got 13 from Purdy, not a bad game. Tyler Lockett only 6. Tyler Conklin only 7. Swan, very disappointing. The Lions, -2 points for his defense. DK Metcalf had a bum game, but Mostert and CeeDee Lamb carrying right now, combining for over 40 points. Swan spent the money to pick up Jordan Love and left those 30 points on the bench. He's going to roll with Murray. What did Murray do his first couple weeks back? 16 and 21. So can't blame Swan for that. I think Murray's probably the better start most weeks. But Minnie has still, we're going to see Deontay Johnson with no Matt Canada. He's able to put up some points. James Cook, always a potential danger. Alexander Madison played a bit last week after being in the concussion protocol, should be totally back this week. So this by no means is a win for Swan. And looking at this, I don't like so many players already being used. Vikings defense against Chicago could be a big advantage over that -2. Could force some turnovers against Fields. I'm gonna take Minnie here. I'm gonna take the upset. I think there's enough still to have happen in this game. Very, very interesting is going to be Henry versus Tyjae Spears. Henry, as his owner in Dynasty, I know he's been disappointing. 5 and 7.4 the last couple of weeks. Whereas Tyjae Spears, 10, 7.8. So they're really kind of splitting. It's not a good offense, and that's really the problem. And Swan's already burned through most of his flex positions. I like Minnie to take the upset here, which would come close to eliminating Swan from playoff contentions if that were to happen. All right, next, a really big matchup between Parker and Grant. Yeah, I'm going to go over to that one next. Yeah, I'm going to go over that one next. Game of the week is going to be Max and Wes. All right. Grant projected at 145. Obviously, he had the 3-game skid, but bounced back nicely last week. Grant is a favorite in to make the playoffs, to get the first round bye, to win the championship. But Parker has the same record as him right now and has a real chance he could take that first round bye away from Grant. That obviously increases his odds greatly and hurts Grant's chances greatly having to play that extra game. ARSB 18.5 on Thanksgiving. Tua disappointing, only 10 points against the Jets. Throwing 2 picks, no good there. Otherwise, this game has everybody still to go. They've avoided a lot of the Thanksgiving games. Fantasy Pros has Grant at a 100 perfect score for this week. And Parker's Young Royalty at an 84. Still, Parker, very solid lineup with Bijan, Mixon. Keenan Allen's been really great. Cooper Cup's been a little slow. I don't know how much of it's dealing with injuries, and then he didn't have Stafford for a bit. I still believe in him bouncing back, but it stinks that Parker went and had to buy him and comes in now not feeling super confident in him. Or on the other side, though, Grant is just absolutely stacked with ETN, Barkley, Nakua, who is not slowed down with Cup back at all. 7.3, 6.2 wasn't great, but again, Stafford was out. 18.7 last week with Cup in the lineup shows that Puka's not going anywhere. And then, of course, Kelsey, even though McBride has been a good start, Kelsey's a big advantage there. Eckler, superstar. Gotta like him over Pacheco. I can't take Parker here. I have to take Grant because just how stacked his lineup is right now. But it's by no means a shoe-in. Parker could get the upset here, and that could be really big for his championship chances. All right, next. This is a very important game and a very high-scoring game to this point. Stands, doesn't matter what my name is, versus Marty's New Age Outlaws. Stan projected right now at a 165. He has 85 points from 3 players. Dak had a really big game on Thanksgiving, and the Cowboys just destroyed Washington. Always happy to see Washington suffer. Tony Pollard, 25 points, also big. Everybody on that Dallas offense pretty much feasted on Thanksgiving. Tyreek Hill, 25 points, even though Tua had a bad game statistically. Tyreek and Waddle both did well. Over on Marty's side, he's had 4 players play, and his match stand at that 85, projected at 157. So they're both projected very high. You would think that your team of the week is probably coming from this game. Between the two of them, they've won 4 of, I want to say, the last 6 team of the weeks. McCaffrey had 33 points. Gibbs only 13. A little disappointing. It's a bit of a step back for him being outscored by Monty. Deebo Samuel, though, good game at 22. And the Cowboys defense, as I said, everybody on the Cowboys team feasted on Thanksgiving. 17 points to them. So now we come down to who's left. For Marty, went out and bought Josh Allen. Really counting on him now. Maybe can't match 35, but there's no one you'd rather have going after your opponent's quarterback gets a really big score. That's going to be key. DeAndre Swift for Stan, best remaining running back to play. Marty Pittman has been really good this year. DJ Moore, boom bust a little bit, I'd say. Obviously, the 54-point game is pretty well behind us now, but he had 22 last week. First time breaking 20 for a few weeks. So feeling good there. Probably rather have Evan Ingram than David Njoku at this point, especially with the quarterback troubles in Cleveland. It's a really even one. Comes down to Stan has one more player to go, but Marty still has his quarterback, which could be high scoring. And then Stan, as noted, although I haven't been keeping track of it the last few weeks, has had a hard time picking defenses. The Chargers not a great matchup here. He's going with the Ravens, whose defense has just been very strong, rather than playing the matchups. That's going to be very interesting how the Ravens can match the Cowboys 17 points. My gut here, Fantasy Pros had both of them up at 91-90, really close. Everything pretty close at this point. I look for who is the big star still to go. And I think that's probably DeAndre Swift is my favorite flex player still to play, and Jonathan Taylor, who has been just very high floor since coming back. Got 23 carries last week in our league. That's really nice. He had a 4-point floor from the carry bonuses. I'm going to take Stan. I'm going to take Stan in a very close game. Marty really hoping that Minnie can get the upset on Swan. All right, final game. Max and the Soul Brothers versus Wes and the Side Ducks, and this is crucial for Max. Wes is the most likely team that Max could slip into the playoffs ahead of. So this is do or die for Max. Needs to win this game. Right now, Wes projected to win by 5. Wes already has had 2 people go, getting 12 from Brees Hall and 10 from his kicker, Aubrey. Max, 13 points from Brandon Ayuk is respectable. He's going to need to do a little bit more. Fantasy Pros Has Wes at a 90 and Max down at an 83 this week. Hawkinson in the lineup after the purchase. James Conner back healthy. I mean, Max's team is solid, top to bottom. Just not a ton to get super excited about. We're going to watch for Wes this Rashad White injury. I saw this pop up. He's expected to play, but he's a late addition to the injury report, so I'm concerned that he'll be limited. I have him in our family league, so I've been kind of watching that. That could come into play a good bit. AJ Brown. What happened last? I mean, what happened against Kansas City? One catch. It's you don't expect it to happen twice, but it's something to monitor because normally AJ Brown would be who I would point to as the difference maker in this game. A little bit of hesitance coming off of that down week. Mahomes has not been Mahomesy. He's been good, relatively high floor, not knocking anything out of the park. Whereas Herbert actually has a bit more of a high ceiling. He's had a couple more bust games though. Really see this one. I've said this a lot today. But this is what you want coming down the stretch, right? You want close games. See this one going either way as well. I'm going to count on an A.J. Brown bounce back. Patriots against the Giants defense. Well, but the Steelers against a Burrowless Cincinnati. I like that too. Oh, this is tough. Oh, this is tough. Going to be a good game. Monte's been mostly pretty good lately. I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch. I was about to say Wes. I like Max here. Looking at the individual matchups, I like Max here. Thanks for watching. Appreciate if you forgive this not being a live stream. I'm a little bit under the weather, so it was easier for me to record and edit out the coughing. Vanis, Jason, no starting Thursday players in the flex, but we'll see y'all next time. Bye.